Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Clutter. I'm your host, Margo, a professional organizer specializing in chronic clutter. And if your home right now feels heavy, you are in the right place and listening to the right podcast. Today's episode is going to be all about what is clutter. And the answer to what is clutter might actually surprise you. So let's be honest. When we hear the word clutter, probably your eye starts to twitch. But most of us picture piles of laundry, overstuffed closets, or that one or many junk drawers that could qualify as an archaeologist's dig. But clutter is more than a mess. It is anything physical or emotional that no longer serves you or aligns with the life you want to live. It's the jeans you keep just in case. We've all been there, right? Maybe you have a pair of jeans from like 5 years ago that you used to fit into and you hope one day that you fit into it again. Or it's the project that's been sitting half done on your desk for months. Or my favorite and probably the hardest to declutter, it's the friend who drains your energy every single time you talk. You know that friend where every time you call them, they go into a whole story about my day was this and it's all about me. And then towards the end of the conversation, they'll be like, by the way, how are you? Gotta go. Bye. That's clutter. That friend is clutter. At its core, clutter is about postponed decisions and the emotions that come with them. Guilt, fear, comfort, even identity. Every pile tells a story. And here's the truth that might surprise you. Clutter is subjective. And I love this about clutter. What overwhelms one person might bring joy to someone else. For example, someone might look at my bookshelf and think, wow, Margo, you are a home organization and decluttering coach and you have hundreds of books. What are you doing with yourself? Now, keep in mind, my books are meticulously organized by genre and author. And yes, in my living room, I have a wall, floor to ceiling, of just perfectly, beautifully curated books. And I read and reread every single one of them. But I've had people come into my home and go, what? I don't get it. Like, why not just hold on to 5? And I'm like, no, these books make me happy. I literally read 3 to 4 books a week. I'm like, I sit in my nook, I have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. You know, right now it's the colder months, so I'll cuddle up with the blanket and like, I enjoy it. My hundreds of books to me are not clutter. So clutter is subjective. Decluttering isn't about having less. It's about defining what matters to you. Now, I want to be perfectly clear. You don't have to be a minimalist in order to have a clutter-free home. And I think that there's a lot of like misinformation out there. I am not a minimalist by any means. I mean, my hundreds of books kind of demonstrate that. I am, however, a minimalist in my wardrobe. I only own about 1 week's worth of clothing. And if I don't do laundry, then, well, I have to leave my house naked. But as far as in my home, I have knickknacks and I have throw pillows. And yes, I even have pictures on my refrigerator. And I think it's very, very empowering to be like, you know, because it could be super overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, I have to literally have nothing. It's just a couch and a TV. Boom, you're done. Maybe a rug to combat the echo in the house. But like, you don't have to be that, right? You can have stuff, right? Maybe what some people would consider a lot of stuff and still be clutter-free. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So first, let's talk about what clutter does to the brain to help you understand if you're living in a cluttered home and how cluttersome is it? Is cluttersome a word? I think it's a word. So because this isn't just about messy countertops, it's about how your environment affects your nervous system. Yes, the stuff that you have in your home, the clutter, however you define it, is messing with your physical and your mental health. When your home is full of visual noise, your brain reads it as unfinished business. That constant low-level alert raises cortisol, which is our stress hormone, that keeps you tense, tired, and snappy. So a great tell for like your home being pretty cluttered, very cluttered, is if you feel overwhelmed in your spaces, it's like time to purge. And when I say time to purge, like yesterday, like you're a day late. No, I'm joking. Just start today. So here's the kicker. Stress breeds clutter and clutter breeds stress. It's really, really a vicious cycle. Picture this. You've had a long day. Your boss snapped at you. The kids are loud and annoying. Your partner just texted, "What's for dinner?" You walk into your home and bam, there's a pile of mail, sunglasses, and I don't know, a random screwdriver staring at you from from the kitchen counter. What happens to you? Your eye begins to twitch. You either clean while muttering every curse word you know, snap at someone, probably one of your children, or walk away entirely. None of these reactions, by the way, reduce stress. They feed it. Here's how clutter sneaks up on your piece. It triggers overwhelm, which you're probably, if you're listening to this podcast, thank you, by the way, you're probably very, very familiar with overwhelm. Every messy space whispers, you're behind. It causes decision fatigue. Each item demands a choice from you. Keep, toss, move, fix, whatever. It also strains relationships. One person's quote unquote fine pile is another person's panic attack. And this is something I see a lot when I work with couples. Oftentimes, I primarily work with women, and oftentimes it'll be the wife that's on her decluttering journey. And one of her biggest frustrations is that her husband is not on board. And I totally get that because, to you, it's literally like you're about to pull your hair out. Meanwhile, your man is sitting on the couch going, that pile over there is not that bad. And you're like, what the hell? Are we looking at the same thing? By the way, just something to note that there has been a lot of scientific research done that women and men actually don't see a mess the same way. So what appears to be super, super messy to you is not really messy to him. Just saying, maybe to put it in perspective just a little bit. Okay. Of course, it also impacts your health. Clutter raises cortisol, it disrupts your sleep, and makes you more likely to order takeout instead of cooking. And by the way, I have an entire free workshop called Healthy Home, Healthy You. It's super motivational, and it'll kind of walk you through the benefits of decluttering each room and how that impacts your health and your mental health. Super motivating. So if you're kind of stuck, it's a great, it's like 60 minutes, I believe, and it's a great free video to watch. I'll link it in the show notes. So here's something I've learned after years of working with women. Clutter usually isn't about laziness, it's about life. Maybe you grew up in a home where clutter was normal. Maybe you experienced loss, divorce, or scarcity, and holding on to things made you feel safe. Maybe shopping became a way to fill emotional gaps. And honestly, the world makes it so easy to accumulate stuff. Tap Apple Pay, and it's on your doorstep by Tuesday. So if you're surrounded by stuff, don't shame yourself. You are not broken. You've been coping. But now you get to choose a new story. Ask yourself, does this space make me feel peaceful or panic? That's probably a very easy answer. Do I avoid this room because it drains me? Do these things reflect who I am today or who I used to be? Decluttering is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's choosing yourself over and over and over again. But one of the most important things is to first, before you even begin to declutter, and this is something I do with all of my one-on-one clients, it's first understanding your why. Why have you accrued all these things? What's going on? And there's usually an emotional component to it, right? Understanding your why. But more so, it's understanding your why for why you, I just said why twice, for why you want a clean, tidy, and well-organized home. What will that do for you? An example of this could be, I will not feel stressed walking into my home, or it will become incredibly easy for me to find things around my house that I need so that, for example, I don't have to buy duplicates or triplicates of a particular item. I remember I was working with one client one time and she had a lot of clutter. I mean, we're talking borderline hoarding, and hoarding is a psychological disorder, but she had a lot of stuff. And when we started decluttering, and it took some time. I mean, it took, I think, a full 6 months to declutter her 4-bedroom house. And I remember one of the things that we discovered was that she literally had 4, 5, 6 items of like the same thing because she just put them in random places. And there was just so much clutter everywhere. And she kept wasting so much money repurchasing the same thing over and over again. Are you someone who is maybe looking to get healthier, right? And lose weight and eat better? Well, guess what? If you have a cluttered kitchen and not enough space in your refrigerator and not enough space on your kitchen counter and, all of that tends to lean heavy on you ordering takeout or having unhealthy snacks in your home, or gravitating towards things like chips and, sweets and all of that stuff. But what you'll find, and again, there's a lot of research on this, is that once you declutter your kitchen, which tends to be one of the primary areas that we focus on, I call them eye twitch areas, and it's the most rewarding to choose an eye twitch area. And usually that area is an area that you come in contact with on a daily basis, right? But one of the things that findings have found is that if you declutter and you have a clean and tidy kitchen, you are more likely to prepare healthier meals. And isn't that a beautiful thing, that just by decluttering your kitchen, it already increases your chances, right, of living a healthier life? So again, it's important to understand why you're holding on to things, why you've accrued all of this stuff, right? Just to give you insight. I don't think you should spend too much time on it, but it's incredibly helpful because, once you kind of understand that, like, maybe you bought all of these things. Maybe you were, an immigrant like me. We immigrated here when I was 8 years old. Obviously, we came to this country with no money. So, I grew up in a household of lack, right? Not having enough. So I remember the first time, like, I got a job and I had money, I ended up going into credit card debt. Because I was just buying a bunch of things because it made me feel secure, and it kind of combated that, lifestyle of lack. And I just kept buying and buying and buying. And the result of that, like I said, was debt. It was also a lot of clutter. And in the beginning, it was very difficult for me to change my shopping habits. And it was difficult for me to purge until I realized, hey, I'm filling a void of my childhood upbringing. But that's little Margo. That's not the adult Margo. And like, who does adult Margo want to be? So again, it's incredibly helpful, especially in those moments where you're like, do I keep it? Do I toss it? But I would really focus mainly on understanding your why. Like, what do you want your future self to be grateful for, right? Because again, remember, today is the direct result of the choices that you made, a year ago, 2 years, or 3 years ago. So I always encourage women. I'm like, well, if you start today, the you a year from now will thank you, right? And what does that future you look like? Is she healthier? Is she in better shape? Is she less stressed? Does she experience less migraines? I say migraines because I'm somebody who suffers from stress migraines, or rather used to suffer, not so much anymore, from stress migraines. And I did a lot of things to kind of de-stress, right? And decrease the stress in my environment. And again, creating a home that's not only clutter-free, but also is like an expression of myself, my books included, gave me a sanctuary, because I can't control what happens in life, just in general, right? Or like at work or whatnot. But I know that when I come home, it is a place that reflects me and reflects peace and relaxation. And as a result of that, again, my stress levels and my stress management has become much better. And as a result, my migraines have decreased. So again, this is all to say is that clutter is not just physical items. Clutter has so much more of a broader impact on your life. And it's the thoughts that you have, and it's the friends that you keep, and it's the boundaries you don't keep, and it's the saying yes to things that you don't want to do. I mean, there's so much that goes on to it. We can't change it all at once, but I think a beautiful place to start is within your home, because you are in control of what you keep and what you purge. Thank you so much for listening. As always, good luck on your decluttering journey, and remember to be good to yourself.